And we are going through now the Sefer Berachot, Ein Yacob, continuing the study. And we're looking at the Gemara that continues on Gemara 4a of Berachot. And we're looking at David's piety and humility. The Gemara continues, and David prayed and saying, "Guard my soul, for I am pious." This is based on Tehillim 86:2. And there is a dispute between Rabbi Levi and Rabbi Yitzchak about the meaning of this prayer. One said that this is David, that this is what David said to the Holy One, "Blessed be He, Master of the universe. Am I not pious? All the kings of the east and the west sleeps into the third hour of the day, but I arise at midnight to praise you for your just rules." Psalms 119, verse 62. The other said, this is what David said to the Holy One, "Blessed be He, Master of the universe. Am I not pious? All the kings of the east and the west sit in their assemblies surrounded by royal entourage, whereas my hands are soiled with blood of menstruation and fetuses and placentas, in order to declare a woman clean for her husband." And this is the whole issue here, that David's hands was full of blood because he had to deal with the issues of the menstruate woman and making sure that the husband and wife can come back together again when issues of questions or doubt. And not only that, I am not a dictator, he says. Whatever I do, I discuss with my teacher, Mephibosheth, and I say to him, is my decision right? Did I correctly convict, correctly acquit, correctly declare clean, correctly declare unclean? And I am not ashamed to ask. In other words, David was humble enough to be able to ask when it wasn't clear. Rabbi Yeshua ben Edi says, which verse may be cited to support this? It says, "I will speak of your decrees and not be ashamed in the presence of kings." Psalms 119, verse 46. Now, Itana taught that David's teacher was not Mephibosheth, but Ishbosheth. Why then was he called Mephibosheth? Because he embarrassed David by pointing out his mistakes. And this is very important for teachers to understand, that we're not to embarrass students, even though they're a king, especially if they're a king with high dignity. Because he embarrassed David by pointing out his mistake. Literally, the meaning of Mephibosheth is, with his mouth he puts others to shame. He was always derogatory, speaking very negative and humiliating and humiliating the king. Because David's humbly accepted criticism, he's worthy to have Kilav as a son. Kilav, and Rabbi Yochanan said his name was not Kilav, but Daniel. Why then was he called Kilav? Because he put Mephibosheth to shame in the matters of halacha. Kilav means kol av. He was always the father, always a step ahead. And Rashi is what Rashi comments. Solomon said this about him: "My son, if your mind gets wisdom, my mind too will be glad." In Proverbs 23, verse 15, there's no more joy than to see one's children be able to grow and increase in greater knowledge than oneself. He also said, "Be wise, my son, and gladden my heart, and I may have what to answer those who taunt me." Mishnah 27:11. Referring to this verse, "Guard my soul, for I am pious," the Gemara wonders, did David really consider himself pious? Did he not say, "I would not have believed, lulei, that I would ever see the good reward of God in the land of the living"? Psalms 27:3 or 27:13. And Itana taught that in the name of Rabbi Yosef, why are there 3 dots on the word lulei? The dots are interpreted to mean that he was doubtful. David said to the Holy One, "Blessed be He, Master of the universe. I am confident that you will pay a good reward to the righteous in the world to come, but I do not know whether I will have a share in it." Thus you see that he was not so sure of his piety. The answer is, he really considered himself to be a pious man, but he was afraid that perhaps some sin may have caused him to lose his reward. This is consistent with the statement of Rabbi Yacob ben Edi. For Rabbi Yacob ben Edi noted a contradiction between the 2 verses. One verse, God said to Jacob, "I am with you. I will protect you wherever you go." Berachot 28:15 or Genesis 28:15. Another verse says, before meeting Esau or Esav, Yacob was very frightened and distressed. Berachot 32a. That's Genesis 32a. This question is why Jacob was afraid if God had promised to protect him. The answer is he was concerned that some sin may have caused God's promise to be no longer in effect. And where do we have an example of this sin causing a promise to be rescinded? As it has been taught. It says in the songs, crossing the Red Sea, until your people crossed, O God, until the people you gained crossed over. Exodus chapter 15, verse 16. The phrase, until your people crossed, O God, refers to Israel's first entrance into Eretz Israel. The phrase, until the people you gained crossed over, refers to the second entrance in the days of Ezra. But the verse puts the two together. Hence, the sages say, Israel should have been worthy to have miracles performed for them in the days of Ezra, just as they happened in the days of Yehoshua ben Nun, when they entered victoriously, but sin prevented the miracle from happening. In the days of Ezra, they entered Eretz Israel only by the grace of Cyrus, and they remained subjugated until or under the Persian rule. In other words, sin has a way to actually stop miracles from occurring, and this is what David was referring to. We're going to continue with Ein Yaakov and in this segment of Berachot, and we're going to see in our next video the Shema and the Shemoneh Esrei. Stay tuned and continue with us in the study. Shalom, shalom.